2 years ago, this committee held a hearing to examine a defense contractor that was charging outrageous prices to our military on mission-critical spare parts for aircraft. Democrats and Republicans came together to demand that the company, called TransDigm, repay the excess profits. I was pleased that following the hearing, TransDigm paid back the money, but TransDigm did not change its behavior. I called this hearing today because the Defense Department's Inspector General recently released a report showing that TransDigm is back at it again. This new IG report reviewed contracts for more than 100 spare parts and found that TransDigm received $20.8 million in excess profit. TransDigm's excess profit margins on individual parts range from 2.8% to a whopping 3,850%. No company should be making over a $3,000 profit from American taxpayers. Yet the IG found that TransDigm's business model is specifically designed to raise prices on defense contracts. TransDigm identifies companies with specialized sole source contracts, buys those companies, and then hikes prices on mission critical parts. Our message to TransDigm today is simple: pay back the money. Let me give you one shocking example. TransDigm manufactures a product called the linear actuating cap, which is used in the F-15 and the C-135 transport aircraft. According to TransDigm, the part only costs $189 to make, but the company charged the Defense Department over $7,000. The IG found that TransDigm repeatedly refused to provide cost data that DoD contracting officers asked for, even when it was needed to determine if the price being offered was fair and reasonable. TransDigm forced contracting officers to choose between accepting prices that were blatantly unfair to taxpayers or denying our military the parts it needs to protect our national security. The last time TransDigm, at our last hearing, at the same time TransDigm is gouging our war fighters, its executives are being rewarded with jaw-dropping compensation. In 2020, TransDigm's founder and executive chairman, Nicholas Howley, received more than $68 million in salary. It would take the average American family around 1,000 years to earn as much as TransDigm's chairman earned in 1 year while overcharging our military. Today, TransDigm is going to tell us that they did nothing illegal or wrong. I disagree. Overcharging taxpayers, even if you get away with it under the law, is just plain wrong. TransDigm will claim that the IG used a flawed methodology to calculate excess profit. This is simply not true. The IG determined that profit above 15% was excessive based on information TransDigm provided. According to TransDigm, similar aerospace industry contractors generally have profits ranging from 8% to 22%. The IG selected 15% for its analysis, the middle of that range. What's more, the nearly $21 million in excess profit the IG identified was based on a sample of only 3% of TransDigm's defense contracts. So the total amount of overcharging may be far higher. TransDigm wants to deflect responsibility, but we are here today saying enough is enough. Congress must act to empower contracting officers when they are negotiating with greedy contractors like TransDigm. Today, I am releasing a discussion draft bill that would require companies to provide cost information when necessary to determine if proposed prices are unfair and unreasonable. This will enable government contracting officers to ensure the government is paying a fair price. I urge my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to work with me on this reform. Mr. Howley and Mr. Sine, the last time you both testified before this committee in 2019, you were evasive and refused to provide clear answers to many questions. We expect you to answer our questions today and take responsibility for your company's actions. Most importantly, we expect TransDigm to pay back the outrageous profit it received at the expense of our warfighters and American taxpayers. Thank you to all of the witnesses testifying today. I am appreciative to Deputy IG Hull for the excellent work of her office. I want to acknowledge Mr. Tenaglia from the Defense Department. I understand the department's typical practice is not to testify on the same panel as private sector witnesses. And I appreciate you making an exception for this hearing so that we can have the benefit of your perspective, especially given that DOD also participated in the committee's earlier hearing on this issue. Finally, I ask unanimous consent to submit for the record a statement Senator Chuck Grassley submitted for today's hearing. Senator Grassley has been a leader in combating government waste, and his letter highlights the need for Congress and DOD to address what he calls, and I quote, egregious price gouging by TransDigm and its subsidiaries. Senator Grassley concludes by saying, and I quote, we cannot keep shoveling money into a fire, watching as it happens, and pretending that everything is fine. Our tax dollars should go towards supporting the warfighter, not paying thousands of dollars for a simple spare part that costs peanuts to make. End quote. Without objection, so ordered. I now recognize the distinguished ranking member, Mr. Comer, for an opening statement.